Westernspring Television. Ours it is. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Sportspring on Westernspring Television. My name is Joseph. I was saying good morning. Tonight's a big one. Second best league in Europe. Talk about the European League. The final tonight, it is Sevilla, the king of Europa League, versus Jose Mourinho's Roma. So who wins tonight? Time, of course, will tell. And I am Nengi Enes Ademola. Thanks for joining us in the midweek edition of Sportspring Westernspring Television. It says to be an exciting and thrilling show today. Now, we do understand that the English Premier League is done and dusted, but we're certainly looking forward to other leagues' completion, the likes of the Serie A, if I'm not mistaken, right here. And of course, today's grand finale of the Europe's second-tier league, that's the Europa League between Sevilla and AS Roma. Aside from that, on the 3rd of June, we're still looking forward to see the FA Cup final between Manchester City and Manchester United. On Sunday also, I think we'll also have the Europa Conference League coming up. And then on the 10th of June also, we have the UEFA Champions League coming up. So a whole lot of these competitions to look forward to. And not leaving out in our local scene, we'll talk about the Flying Eagles of Nigeria still in the Under-20 World Cup, where the likes of Israel, the likes of USA has qualified for the quarterfinals. The Super Falcon is doing pretty well in the WAFUB Under-20 Championship also. Welcome on board this morning once again. All right, so in a nutshell, the leagues across Europe are gradually winding down. Exactly. All the competitions gradually are coming to an end. And after the 10th of June, matches will resume after 2 months and 2 weeks. But then let's start from the locals and then talk about the Flying Eagles. They have arrived the venue where they'll be taking on Argentina. And that's a huge one for the Flying Eagles. They take on one of the title favorites. I talk about Argentina. Do not forget that Brazil will also be battling Tunisia this evening. But let's talk about the Eagles. Exactly. Now, the Eagles of Nigeria have arrived in San Juan ahead of their Wednesday round of 16 of the 2023 FIFA Under-20 World Cup tie against host Argentina. The two-times FIFA World Cup finalists on Monday at 9 a.m. were left stranded when they were to depart from Buenos Aires for San Juan. Though there was no explanation from the organizers, FIFA asked to what led to 5 hours delay, but there was news making the round that there was an earthquake, rather, in San Juan on Monday. Now, Nigeria will trade tackle with Argentina on Wednesday, that's today, in a quest for the quarterfinal ticket at 10 p.m. at the San João de Bicentenario Stadium. So all the best to the Flying Eagles of Nigeria. Of course, they've been able to do us proud against the likes of Italy and the rest of them. They only lost to Brazil in the qualifying stages, but let's see how things pans out to be. And aside from that, Joseph, we do understand the fact that USA has qualified for the quarterfinals of the competition already. Well, the United States are true to the quarterfinals of the competition, and the surprise package of this season will be Israel. Exactly. And no one saw them going this far. So teams will join tonight and talk about the African foes. We know Nigeria versus Argentina. There's also Tunisia versus Brazil. That's another big one. And I'm sure all Africans are rooting for the African nations at the competition rather. So all the best, as we said earlier, to the Flying Eagles. They look prepared. They've gotten messages from ex-internationals, giving them ideas on how to beat the Argentines. And do not forget that some of the big stars that spoke to the guys spoke to them before they took on Italy, telling them how important that game was, and they won that game well, 2-0. Against Brazil, I think they were a little bit complacent, knowing full well they had qualified, but then they should have done themselves a favor to have at least drawn that game and finished first. Maybe they would have avoided Argentina at this point. But then they say if you want to be a champion, you must definitely beat the best. So all the best to these guys. Exactly. And most especially the African countries remaining at the competition. And just like we stated, USA's impressive showing at the FIFA Under-20 World Cup Argentina 2023
continued with an utterly dominant performance against New Zealand in the last 16 match of the tournament. So definitely USA is true. And just like Joseph rightly stated, the surprise of the tournament, talking about Israel, I tell you for sure that they were able to, defeat Uzbekistan to advance also to the last gaps of the Under-20 World Cup. So it's all good for them. They've been able to make history. And let's see what the Flying Eagles can be able to do today against their counterparts.
All right, let's come back home and talk about the IMC. Now, the Interim Management Committee, that's the IMC, which is charged with the responsibility of organizing the 2022-2023 Abridged Nigeria Premier Football League, has struck a deal to put all matches in the upcoming Super 6 in Lagos on television. The deal with Super Sport is stable of a multi-choice and a South African cable satellite is the latest heartwarming news coming from the IMC, which has in the last 12 months done a lot to revive the fortunes of the once moribund league. So it means that the Super 6 will be showcased live on your screen. You can tune in and watch, and that's just the beginning. If they are successful with that, then it means that when the season resumes in a month or two, we should be having some of the NPFL matches on the screens.
Exactly, and it is a hope of the IMC that after all this effort, the best team wins the league and the country will have worthy representatives in the 2 CAF-organized Inter-Club Championship next season. Let's also inform you that Bendel Insurance of Bini, Remo Stars of Ikene, Eyimba of Aba from Group A, and the Pool B trio of Rivers United, that's the title holders, defending their title. Lobby Stars of Makadi and Sunshine Stars of Akura, the 6 teams to feature at the Super 6 from July 3rd, 2023 at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Onikan, Lagos.
And away from that, let's talk about the Federation's Cup. The idea to take it to Ijebu-Ode. They're taking it to Ijebu-Ode, of course, to host the semis here. And we hear that Remo Stars' home ground would be used as one of the venues. And
just to add to more details concerning that story, the Mobolaji Johnson Arena in Lagos, where the Nigerian International Cup began in 1945, and Otumba Dikpo Dinar Stadium in Ijebu-Ode will be the host venues for the semi-finals of the men's edition of this year's Federation Cup competition. Bendel Insurance FC and Warri Wolves will lock horns at the MJA on Lagos Island, and whichever side is able to climb higher on the land will be eligible to play for the prestigious trophy next year. Rangers International, who won the African Cup Winners' Cup in 1977 after a string of FA Cup, that's the former name of the Federation Cup, triumphs, will square up to ambitious Plateau United FC at the Otumba Dikpo Dinar Stadium in Ijebu-Ode. So definitely we'll have 2 fixtures for that day. Rangers International going against Plateau United FC, and of course Bendel Insurance against Warri Wolves. Now, it was at Ijebu-Ode that Warri Wolves shocked Lobby Stars 2-1 to reach the semi-finals, and Rangers International pipped Giants Killers. Doma United won 1-0 at the Akure Township Stadium in their own quarter-final, while Plateau United turned back hopeful Kwara United by the same margin in Abuja. So all the best to those who are participating in the semi-finals of the Federation Cup.
Well, it's the oldest football competition in Nigeria, the Federation's Cup, once the President Cup. And, well, it's just like the FA Cup in England.
Yeah.
To win the FA Cup, when you win the FA Cup, rather, you get a £10 million, a far cry to the 60, 70, 80 million, depending on TV rights they get when they win the Premier League. But then it's still the most respected competition in England. The same thing applies here in Nigeria when you talk about the Federation's Cup. Yeah. And the beauty of that competition is that smaller teams have the opportunity to upset the big boys. And we've seen this play out times without number.
The likes of Warri Wolves and Bendel Insurance, big boys from the NPFL facing the likes of those ordinary clubs. And of
course, I mean, some of the big stars that we have today, I keep mentioning Ahmed Musa was discovered from a competition like that.
Exactly. Now, let's not leave out our under-16 as they are moving further in the 4-nation tournament. Now, the Netherlands under-16 national team in the early hours of Wednesday pipped the Future Eagles 1-0 in their first match at the ongoing 4-nation tournament in Japan. The Nigerian boys were shaky in the early part of the game, but slowly gained confidence to put up a better performance. And Holland scored the lone goal in the first half earlier before the young Nigerians stamped their authority into the game. However, their efforts to bring the game to level terms proved abortive. Now, Nigeria will now play against USA and host Japan in the second and final match. Talking about the Four Nations tournament going on in Japan. The under-16 boys are trying to do us proud right there. That's the future Eagles of Nigeria. But let's see how things pans out to be. They still have the likes of Japan and USA to face, and we wish them the best.
Now let's move to the Olympics, where the road to next year's Women's Olympic Football Tournament for 9-time African champions Nigeria is halted by Ghana and Cameroon following the draw conducted in Cairo on Tuesday afternoon. After a probable meeting with Ethiopia in the second round of the campaign in October this year, the Falcons will have to confront the winners of the ties between Uganda and Rwanda and Cameroon. Once they cross the Cameroonian hurdle, the Nigerian girls will be up against the winners of the Guinea-Bissau Benin Republic against Guinea and Ghana. Now, Cameroon stopped Nigeria from qualifying for the London 2012 Olympics when they edged a two-legged counter on penalties in Yaoundé. We also know that Equatorial Guinea stopped the Super Falcons in the race for the Rio 2016 Olympics, while Ivory Coast proved a stumbling block to the last games held in Tokyo. However, the Super Falcons have severely stopped the indomitable Lions from reaching the World Cup. But when it comes to the Olympics, I really don't know what to do separately. The likes of Zambia, they know how to qualify for competitions like this. But then the main event, talking about the World Cup, you hardly find these countries.
Exactly. Now, just to add to that, we know that the Falcons equally defeated Cameroon right in front of their home fans in the final of the 2016 Women's African Cup of Nations. And just like you rightly stated, I think the Super Falcons of Nigeria are doing pretty well. Of course, they've been engaged in one or two tournaments at the beginning of this year. I can remember in January where they had to take on the Mexican tournament. That's the Revelation tournament. And aside from that, they also went to Turkey, took on another competition, which they came out very victorious. So I feel all those have set the precedent in order for them to be able to qualify against the likes of their Cameroonian counterparts, the likes of Zambia and the rest of them concerning the Paris 2024. And let's not also forget that these girls are also vying to be able to go far when it comes to the Women's World Cup that is coming up soon enough. So I guess this will also stand as something that they need to actually work hard for. And let's see what what's the name of the coach now? Let's see what he can be able to do with these girls. Exactly, Randy Waldron. Let's see what he can be able to do concerning this. And let's try and qualify for the Paris 2024. We'll wish them all the best.
The last time we were at the Olympics was in 2008. And we crashed out of the group stage. Is not a good one. But then we're 9 times African champions. We are the giants of Africa, like it or not. If the Super Falcons fails to qualify for major competitions, talk about the African Cup of Nations for the next 5 editions, they would still be the African giants. And these competitions will be played in September/May next year. So they have ample time, to prepare for the game.
Exactly. And moving aside from that one, let's also talk about the Super Falcons of Nigeria doing us very proud in the WAFUB Under-20 Championship that is going on currently. Now, 16-goal Super Falcons of Nigeria will be the favorites when they take on their counterparts from Benin Republic in the second semi-final of the ongoing WAFUB Under-20 Women Championship in Kumasi, Ghana today. Now, the encounter starts at 6:30 p.m. local time, 7:30 p.m. in Nigeria, hours after the first semi-final between the hosts, Ghana and Burkina Faso at the same Babayara Stadium, starting at 3 p.m. Now, Falconets Okpeyemi Achakaye with 6 goals is the tournament leading scorer and will seek to add to her tally when the whistle goes for kickoff on Wednesday. Joseph, we've seen the Super Falconets performing very well. They beat the likes of Niger Republic. They beat the likes of Togo, 6-0, 7 goals to nothing. Also, coming to the Burkina Babes, they beat them 3-0. I do not think that taking on Benin Republic would be a problem for them today.
I do not see it being a problem. I mean, the headlines are already reading. They're expecting, I should say, goals are to rain tonight when the Falconets will be in action. The best team on the continent so far when it comes to that age grade. The Falcons are also the best team so far. Yep. So it means we're doing something right when it comes to female football. So we're expecting nothing less than 5, 6, 7 goals. And that's what the headlines are saying at the moment.
And just to conclude on that particular story, we do also understand that the Confederation of African Football has appointed Nigerian official Zoware Soli Sani as the match referee, while D. Alse Sila from Senegal and Indeko Edwige from Ivory Coast will serve as assistant referees 1 and 2 respectively. Togolese Edo Kindeji is the 4th official, while Na Odofeli from Ghana will be the commissioner of the match.
All right, that's it on the local scene as far as we're concerned. We need to go on a break, but before we do, Jose Mourinho, they call him the special one, and yes, of course, he is the special one. It's hard for you to see Jose Mourinho lose in the final of a major competition. Did it with Roma, won the finals of the inaugural edition of the Conference League just last season. Grew to the next stage with the same team, to play in the finals of the Europa League. Let us also let you know that Roma will be playing in the UEFA Champions League next season. So it means there is progress with AS Roma and with the tactician himself in Jose Mourinho. But then how do you leave aside the team that they call the Kings of Europa League in Sevilla? Exactly. So what we mean in a nutshell is that Budapest tonight will be on fire. Let's show you how they all go to the finals. We'll be back.